Will I like it? Will I hate it? Let's find out with Nat at the movies. Good evening, everyone. My name is Natasha, and this is Nat at the Movies, the series where I take a look at a random film and give my thoughts on it. This time around, I am taking a look at both Dr. Phibes films, so let us begin. I have been going through the month of October, doing at minimum one movie every day over the course of the month. From the very beginning, I had planned out that I would be watching both Phibes films, and so I went to watch them. Now, to be fair, I had watched them earlier this year, but I have now went to rewatch them as a part of my month-long celebration of Halloween. I also got to experience much more upon second viewing than I had picked up in the first. So, what exactly did I think of both movies? Well, that's what I am here to talk about. Especially with the first film, I must say that it is rather dark, and it is a comedy. In my mind, it's a very dark comedy, but very funny at the same time. It is also quite well horrific. It is a horror after all. I enjoy the world it created for itself and the style that is found within. Such fabulous sets through the first two films and the props. Like in the first film, how he had that car he rode around in. I really enjoyed that one. The filmmaking is also very well done, and you can tell a lot of people were having fun making these. Even down to the credits at the end, you can easily tell that. They were also quite creative in what they were making, at least in my opinion. Phibes really knows how to plan things out to great degrees. I wish I had that skill, but yeah, Phibes is definitely one person you definitely don't want to cross. Such a stylish man he is. And he's also quite a perfectionist. He sure knows what he likes and enjoys in life. And I also believe that these films are perhaps Vincent's finest performances, and he hardly speaks a word. Well, at least in the first film. So I do believe he is quite menacing, even as he hardly speaks. So I believe it speaks volumes about his acting talent when he can be both silent yet so emotive. In a way, Vincent just lets himself live out in the characters he plays and is a true show of his talent. No matter what he appeared in, he always looked like he was enjoying himself. Watching these movies and the many others I have done this Halloween, I gotta say, I found myself cheering more for the monsters than the supposed heroes. Like, you couldn't tell me that you really supported the heroes in this movie. Vincent is just so evil and fabulous at it. He's just so good at what he's doing. And in his mind, he believes he's justified. He blames the medical team that attended his wife's surgery 4 years prior for her death and sets out to exact vengeance on each and every one of them. He is inspired by the murderous spree of the 10 plagues of Egypt from the Old Testament. And also, I do notice that this film is now 50 years old, whether you watched in the UK or the US, because they had different release dates. But yes, he is an expert in theology and music, and is thought to have been killed in a car crash in 1921, which, 100 years ago now, while racing home upon hearing the death of his beloved wife, Victoria. He survives the crash, but was horribly scarred and left unable to speak. He remakes his face with prosthetics and uses his knowledge of acoustics to regain his voice. And I gotta say, it's a very creative movie. And there's so much passion within the film. It's incredible. He resurfaces 4 years later secretly within London and starts going about killing those who he believes has done him so very wrong and killing his wife. Which, there's a lot of things that could be said about how much a doctor is responsible for someone's death on an operating table. So, that's an entire conversation that could be had. But yes, I just love how Vincent's able to go about through the film getting away with it, what he's doing. It feels very good to see the quote-unquote monster getting to, well, do what they want. It's not something you get to see in a film that often, at least. But yes, even down to the way the deaths are portrayed and the ways he has concocted them, he is a very creative man. And I believe that, again, speaks volumes to Dr. Phibes and, by extension, Mr. Price himself. He goes about killing each and every one of those who have done him wrong. And after he had accomplished his vendetta, he retreats to his basement to inter himself in a stone sarcophagus containing the embalmed body of his wife. He drains his blood, replacing it with embalming fluid, lies down in the sarcophagus next to Victoria, and the coffin's inlaid stone lid slides into place, completely concealing it, much as the police are trying to figure out where he had went. And I really do enjoy how the film, well, went. And it definitely ends very different than how pretty much any other horror film would. And the final curse being darkness is an interesting point, considering that Phibes was, well, concealing himself in darkness within that sarcophagus. So, in a way, he was also bringing a plague upon himself. And it's not like he's heartless. He even gave the final doctor there a chance to save his son. So, yeah. He only acted out the way he did because of what he felt was thrust upon him and what was wrong done to him in, well, his love life. The film was shot in the 20s era sets of the Elstree Studios in Hertfordshire. The cemetery scenes were shot in Highgate Cemetery in London. The exterior of Phibes' mansion is the Caldecott Towers in Emmanuel College on Elstree Road, which, by the way, I'm sorry if I mispronounce anything. The film was followed in 1972 by its sequel, Dr. Phibes Rises Again, which we will be getting to in a moment. Several other sequels were planned, including Phibes Resurrects, The Bride of Dr. Phibes, and Seven Fates of Dr. Phibes, but none were ever produced, which is quite a shame, in my opinion. And I also gotta say, the organ playing he does is very, very good. And I just love the visuals and the styles portrayed within the film. I think it's very cool. Now, there was a lot of music that, even though it's set in the 20s, the music some were played were from the 40s. So, But he's a man who's murdering people with bats and locusts, etc. you can't really take this film to be a serious portrayal of something that could happen in real life. It's not entirely realistic. And, well, is it meant to be? It's a horror film. So, yeah. Also, in the TV broadcast, I will note this interesting thing I found about it. The film does excise some of the more grisly scenes, such as the close up of the nurse locust eating corpse. It's a very graphic film, very grisly, as it were. So, yeah, I could see why they would censor things. In fact, if you're looking on the screen there, the picture says that the authorities will not permit the face to be shown on advertisements. So you can see how the Brits were feeling about it. But yes, with my thoughts on the first film over, let us transition over to the second one, shall we? Dr. Phibes Rises Again is a 1972 British horror dark comedy film produced this time by Lewis M. Hayward, directed by Robert Foist, don't know how to pronounce it, Fuest, and it stars Vincent Price and Robert Quarry. The film is a sequel to the Abominable Dr. Phibes. I always keep calling him Mr. Phibes each and every time. After seeking vengeance on the doctors whom he blamed for his wife's death in the first film, Phibes returns to seek eternal life in Egypt, while he pursues a centuries-old man who holds the ancient secrets that Phibes needs. And again, if you're going into these films wanting super realistic things, you're not going to find them. It's more silly than anything. But I do quite enjoy them. It's very cartoonish, especially the second film. Very cartoonish in the way the deaths are done. Sure, some are still, well, quite creative and quite, well, grisly, but it's a very comedic film, especially the second one. Plus, I don't think you can exactly suspend your life by replacing with embalming fluids, then put the blood back in and come back to life. So again, if you're going for realism, these movies are probably not for you. But if you want to be entertained by a very talented crew, this movie is perfect for you. But yes, Phibes takes Victoria's body to Egypt. There, within a hidden temple, flows the River of Life, promising resurrection for Victoria and eternal life for them both. Emerging from his basement, Phibes discovers that his mansion has been demolished. A safe containing an ancient papyrus map to the river is now empty. Who goes to somebody's house, destroys it, and steals their map? Like, come on. But yes, Phibes only knows of one person who could be seeking the same goal. Darius Beiderbecke. It's a hard word. Anyhow, he is a man who has lived for centuries through the regular use of a special elixir. After translating the papyrus, Beiderbecke prepares to travel to Egypt to find the River of Life for himself and his lover Diana, which he doesn't seem to care much for his wife, at least until the very end. He seems more obsessed with his own goals, at least in my opinion. But yes, Phibes and Volnavia enter Beiderbecke's house, kill his manservant. I know that is an actual job thing, but just manservant, it always makes me giggle. And reclaim the papyrus. They leave for Southampton to take the ship to Egypt. Beiderbecke follows and travels on the same ship. And, well, Phibesian events do occur, including the corpse of the next victim being found within a gigantic alcohol bottle. Can't say he's not creative. Oh, and on the ship scene, you will see that Peter Cushing, of all people's in it. So, neat little thing there. Oh, and like I was saying about the credits of the first and, well, second films, they're very, very amusing and entertaining themselves, down to calling Phibes the protagonist, and people like the Jewish synagogue person from the first film and Peter Cushing as interested parties. So, yeah, I found those to be quite amusing. But yes, many, many deaths later, we get to the climax of this movie, which is where Phibes is confronting Beiderbecke. Phibes demands the key in exchange for Diana's life, which, yes, he has taken Diana and entrapped her, claiming that thanks to the ancient artisans who built the temple, when the gate is open, the water will drain out of Diana's trap and flow through the gate, thus making it possible to free her without injury. But Beiderbecke doesn't know that. Unable to free her from Phibes' water trap, Beiderbecke surrenders the key and gives up his quest. Phibes unlocks the gate to the River of Life, boats Victoria's coffin through it, and summons Volnavia to join them on the other side. Which, by the way, I gotta say, the one who's portraying Volnavia through the films, even though I believe there was an actress change between them, they don't speak at all. And they're just so mysterious. And I just love the style visually of the films. I know I keep mentioning that, but they're so good. They make their own world, and I enjoy it. You can also tell they were quite honoring films of that time and ones that were based in that time. But yes, Volnavia gives great performances through the films. Very entertaining to me. Many very lovely, very, very lovely visual things through the films. I wish I could show you more of them, but I'd say you should go watch them yourselves. That way I do not spoil how they look to you. But yes, Beiderbecke returns to the gate just as it closes, pleading through the bars for Phibes to take him along, but Phibes ignores him and pulls the boat down the ancient passageway. Diana attempts to comfort Beiderbecke, but he begins to rapidly age. On his boat that slowly fades from sight, Phibes sings Over the Rainbow as Beiderbecke finally succumbs to extreme old age and dies. Which, by the way, I will say that Phibes singing Over the Rainbow is just, perfection. I adore it so. But yes, producer Haywood brought in Blease and felt that Blease's sense of humor would work well with a Phibes film. Hayward said that writers Blease and Foist, I'm just going to say Fust for the rest of this video. But yeah, he said that writers Blease and Fust did not agree on how to write the film, which forced Hayward, yeah, I almost thought it said Haywood for a moment. Hayward to meditate or mediate. I am gonna get through and someday speak English. I swear. The ensuing debates between Blease and Fust resulted in what Hayward said was a very good script that could be used for teaching purposes. I suppose so. American International Pictures was grooming Corey as Price's replacement, and the two were rumored to not get along well. However, Hayward said that he was aware of no tension between the actors on set. Corey provided his version in a subsequent interview, stating that he was told that he would be Price's replacement when his contract ran out, which was meant to be between him and the studio. He stated that Price was not particularly interested in working with the studio, and AIP, which is American International Pictures, did not appreciate the salary that was steadily rising for him while his features were not doing as well. It was a publicity event in England that Price heard about being replaced, since a publicist came up and asked him how it felt to be replaced by Quarry. In terms of production, Quarry stated that while Price and him had a rift, it did not affect the production of the film, saying it was extremely pleasant. Her sense of humor was the one bond that made working with him a pleasure. Volnavia was not initially intended to return, but AIP insisted on it. Since Virginia North was pregnant at the time, Valley Kemp was cast instead. The desert scenes were shot in Ibiza, Spain. Ibiza of all places. Interesting. I took a pill in Ibiza. In addition to Price, 4 actors returned from the previous film. Peter Jeffrey, John Carter, in the same roles, and Hugh Griffith and Terry Thomas in new ones. In addition, photographs of Caroline Munro as Phibes' wife Victoria were used as they had been in the previous film. Also, AIP solicited scripts for a third film, but Hayward said they never found a suitable one. Proposed titles include Phibes Resurrectus, The Bride of Dr. Phibes, and The Seven Fates of Dr. Phibes. And in fact, it is said that David Carradine, Roddy McDowall, and Orson Welles were considered for other Phibes projects. That would have been very interesting, in my opinion. But yes, I do believe that both films were actually quite good. And I believe you should be going and watching them yourselves, as if you desired it. But yes, that is my pretty much overall thoughts as well, because I've been kind of saying them through the entire thing. So I guess you can just combine the overall thoughts with this. But yes, I believe we should now move on to the reviews of others. So, first off, we're going to start with the Abominable Dr. Phibes, which has on Rotten Tomatoes an 88% on the tomato meter and 76% on the audience score. Now to scroll down to critic reviews. David Robinson of the Financial Times says, Mr. Fust makes very tolerable use of means. I don't know. I don't pretend to know. Added to which he has the overwhelming advantage of Vincent Price as the Abominable Doctor. Margaret Hinksman of the Daily Telegraph states, it has, incidentally, a really well thought out revenge plot directed by Robert Fust, with tons more style and assurance than he brought to Wuthering Heights. David Kerr of the Chicago Reader states, a former art director, Fust gives the film a preposterously lush, Ken Russell-ish look. Highly enjoyable. Oh, and that reminds me, since it's talking about art, Mr. Price himself was an art critic and enjoyed art, as well as cooking and other things. Very fascinating man. We should definitely go over him sometime. But yes, in the one scene where there's the really horny guy implied to be jacking off to a lady with a snake, make of that what you will. I do enjoy that Phibes went back, looked at the paintings on the wall, and then looked to the man giving a judging stare and then walks away. That was a very nice touch. But Wendy Ide of the Times UK states, high camp horror with its tongue firmly in its gruesomely deformed cheek. This British oddity features Vincent Price in one of his most memorable roles. Keith Phipps says, Fust plays up the 1930s by way of the 70s set design, but any atmosphere gets lost in scene after scene that's lighted like a TV show. I don't agree with you. Variety staff from, Variety states, anachronistic period horror musical camp fantasy is a fair description, loaded with comedic gore of the type that packs theaters and drives child psychologists up the walls. That was funny. Mike Massey of Gone with the Twins states, the climax is so dementedly intriguing, perfectly bringing together all the inventive weirdness before it, that it boldly caps off an unforgettable masterwork of the macabre. Dilys Powell of the Sunday Times UK states, one of the best horror comics for years. Norman Spinrad of the Los Angeles Free Press states, Dr. Phibes manages the impressive stunt of being a good grotty horror film that succeeds in being genuinely horrifying while also succeeding on the level of super high camp. I agree with that. Film 4 states the humor is camp, the set decorations are Art Deco Gothic, and the editing is ropey, but Price's performance suggests that underlying the madness there is a real and damaged human being who deserves your support. That's a good point. About Price, at least. Christopher Hudson of The Spectator states, no film can be all bad which opens in a vast Art Deco chamber, with Vincent Price masked and cloaked and hooded, rising out of the floor at the organ playing Cole Porter melodies. TV Guide says, a delightfully goofy horror film. And there are no feature reviews for the Abominable Dr. Phibes because the movie has not released yet. Interesting to say that, Rotten Tomatoes, for a film that's 50 years old. And then we move on to the reviews of Dr. Phibes Rises Again, which has a 59% on the tomato meter and a 57% audience score. I disagree with them. I think both films are incredible and deserve your time to watch. Vincent Canby of the New York Times states Dr. Phibes Rises Again makes the usually dumb mistake of aspiring to be camp. Mysteriously, a lot of its works probably because Robert Fust, the director, knows just how long to hold in effect before it was. Usually dumb mistakes, so does that imply it did it well this time? Give me mixed signals, Vincent. Kim Newman of the Empire magazine states, a lively, spirited sequel to The Abominable Dr. Phibes, which misses the Seven-like rigor of a plot structured around the plagues of Egypt, but still manages to come up with a succession of gruesome black comic death scenes. Variety staff states, Vincent Price's Phibes delivers one of his priceless theatric performances, and Corey is properly ruthless rival, who nearly matches Phibes in knowledge and cunning. Tony Raines of Time Out states, the same wasted opportunities with Art Deco sets, a scattering of pointless guest appearances, and only one death scene with balls. Pity it wasn't given to a director who could exploit the real possibilities. You are very wrong, Tony. Go watch a different movie. Mike Massey of Gone with the Twins says, made just a year after the original film, this immediate sequel is notably sillier, embracing the comedy components far more than the horror. And that's fine to me. These people aren't enjoying this one, it seems, as much. I enjoyed it muchly. I found it to be very entertaining. Dick Locht of the Los Angeles Free Press states that Price is priceless. I like that. Virtually the last of the great histrionic school, Barrymore, Lafton et al., who can serve up a mound of ham on rye and manage to make it perfectly palatable. Rick Sanchez says the movie is so laced with self-mockery that at times it borders on the farcical. Never seen it spelt that way. All humor aside, the script and cast of Phibes do a fantastic job. They misspelled fantastic. Paul Chambers of Movie Chambers says, if you've never seen The Abominable Dr. Phibes, this horror comedy would be much more appealing. The original is still the best. Steve Biodrowski of Cinefantastique says, with Phibes now nominally the hero, the audience is invited to identify and laugh along with him as he polishes off everyone in his way. Mark Bourne of DVDjournal.com says, falls prey to the similar curse of the sequel. It's notably lesser, lazier work. No, it isn't. I say they're just equal. Dennis Schwartz of Dennis Schwartz Movie Review says, the bizarre murders devised are more repelling than scary or smartly done. Screw you, man. Matt Bailey of Nothing or Not Coming to a Theater Near You says, competently made. Well then, I guess that's a good thing. There is no audience reviews on this one either. But there's both my thoughts and other people's thoughts. So now I guess it's on to a conclusion. But yes, I think that everyone should be going and watching these movies. I think they're all quite brilliant, at least in their own ways. So if you're interested in these films, do go ahead and watch them yourselves. I believe highly that everyone should. I think they are, like I keep saying, some of Price's best work. And no matter what movie he's in, Price seems to always be enjoying himself, and I adore that. But yes, I do thank you very much for watching. I have been your host, Nattie, and I say take care and farewell.